Our unity and love for one another will always be stronger than the hate of the extremists.
Sorry? I'm human, talk to me as such.
London stands in defiance against this cowardly attack.
But I know you had to think for a little while before taking this part. What was the turning point that made you end up taking it?
I initially said no because I was kind of scared of spending so long away from home. And then I ended up catching a second wind.
You do not commit these disgusting acts in my name.
Achel Zegler didn't say a word. She didn't have to. The look on her face said everything. For weeks, she'd been the center of a cultural storm, fighting headlines, critics, and even political figures. But this time, it was different.
I just wanted to go on this little baby rant about achel Zegler. They've gone through various scandals with this girl. Not because she can't keep her mouth shut. I'm totally fine with with the celebrities telling me what their politics are, who they're voting for, et cetera, et cetera. We've become accustomed to that. But because she has this underlying anger and hatred in her that always has to take it like one step too far.
Paparazzi caught her outside her London flat, hunched over, eyes red, mascara smudged of visibly shaking. 2 security guards shielded her from the cameras as she rushed into a waiting car. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. She looked like someone who had just received devastating news. And within minutes, the footage was everywhere.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it. All right. Congrats, Rachel. Good luck.
Social media lit up. Speculation exploded. Some fans claimed she was just tired. Others weren't so sure because only hours earlier, a cryptic post had circulated from someone claiming to work inside the UK's Department for Culture. The post said, "Big decision coming on. The Evita production. Public image matters." No names, no details. But for those following the drama, it didn't take long to connect the dots.
One of the most disgraced actresses of our entire lifetime is having yet another insane, hilarious meltdown over the complete and total backlash that has basically ended her entire career in Hollywood before it even started. And she is back once again to absolutely go scorch earth to attack everyone that was not happy about the insane things that she has been saying over the past couple of years. She is not happy, and it's very obvious with everything that is going on.
Zegler's breakdown wasn't just emotional. It felt symbolic. A rising Hollywood star flown in to lead a major London production suddenly unraveling in public just as rumors of government interference began to swirl. The timing was impossible to ignore. Was this a mental health crisis triggered by public pressure? Or was it something bigger? Something that hadn't yet been made public? Either way, one thing was clear. Achel Zegler wasn't just fighting for her reputation anymore. She might be fighting for her role, or worse, her entire future in the UK.
Achel Zegler's in the news because she's fast becoming the new Brie Larson. She is taking over as the most unlikable woman in Hollywood ever to promote a movie.
Truly a cultural milestone that Achel Zegler has reached. Most annoying female lead in all of history.
She is the most unlikable woman I've ever seen in my life. Holy crap.
But how did it come to this? Why is the British government allegedly getting involved with a musical actress from the US? The answer lies in a single viral moment that turned a theatrical dream into an international scandal.
In the 1970s, Tim Rice became fascinated by her and worked out the concept for a musical, which would become the smash hit Evita, with music by Andrew Lloyd Webber. One commentator wrote this: Evita Peron symbolizes certain naive but effective beliefs, the hope for a better world, a life sacrificed on the altar of the disinherited, the humiliated, and the poor of the earth.
It should have been a simple photo op, A quick wave to fans, a smiling nod from the balcony of one of London's most iconic theatres. But instead, Rachel Zegler stood alone, arms crossed, chin raised, staring down at the street below. Like she owned the city. Cameras flashed, the internet exploded, and just like that, a new villain was born. What was meant to be a promotional moment for Evita turned into a meme. Overnight. Critics called it the Marie Antoinette moment of Gen Z Hollywood. Some joke she looked like a dictator, surveying her kingdom. But not everyone was laughing. Women's groups in the UK called the moment tone deaf, accusing Zegler of acting like she was above the culture she came to perform in. The backlash was instant and brutal.
A lot of what you see with Zegler is really just a pretty common Gen Z mentality and approach to work. She believes that she should be able to express herself and speak her truth or whatever nonsense, regardless of the consequences to everybody else. In reality, you have a job. You're getting paid to do this job. You signed on the dotted line. You took on the role. And that job comes with certain basic responsibilities. And one of the most basic is the responsibility to control yourself and comport yourself a certain way publicly so that you don't harm the project, thereby harm all the hundreds of other people who are working on it.
It didn't help that Zegler had already built a reputation online for her sharp tongue and unapologetic opinions. Her past comments slamming Snow White as outdated and weird resurfaced. And British tabloids, they had a field day. Headlines mocked her attitude, questioned her casting, and reignited debates about whether American celebrities respect the rules they are given or the countries they perform in.
Rachel Zegler is reportedly struggling to get hired. Rachel Zegler was supposed to be in Paddington 3, however she was dropped from that movie a few weeks ago, and they said that they dropped her because of the actors' strike. However, there are numerous actors in Paddington 3 that are a part of SAG, yet they're still able to film in the movie. So people are speculating that it might be because of another reason, and most likely is because of the Snow White backlash, and studios not wanting to hire her given the fact that it might result in their movie not making a whole lot of money at the box office. She also voiced the lead character of an upcoming cartoon that was meant to be part of Apple TV. However, Apple dropped the cartoon film. However, it was picked up by Netflix, but people are wondering why Apple dropped it in the first place, and people once again are saying it's because of this Snow White backlash and them not wanting the movie to suffer because of her backlash.
From gossip into geopolitics was what happened next, because within 48 hours a statement was allegedly leaked from someone close to the mayor of London. It wasn't official, but it was sharp. London doesn't negotiate with narcissists, and just like that the tone shifted from embarrassment to open hostility. But if people thought the mayor's office would be the end of it, they were wrong. Because the controversy didn't stop at City Hall. It reached somewhere even more powerful. Whitehall.
Some of the main triggers for a narcissist are perceived rejection. So if you reject them or say no to them, watch out. Not getting what they want, not getting enough attention, you're not feeding me enough, or anything that messes with their image. So what happens if they don't get what they want or they get triggered? Usually they go to anger, and then they get cruel. They lash out, they say extremely hurtful things, and they can be very destructive.
At first, it seemed like a classic tabloid feud. A celebrity clashes with a politician, headlines get written, everyone moves on. But this time, something was different. Because behind the scenes, whispers began to emerge that the UK government, specifically the Department for Culture, Media and Sport, was quietly watching the situation unfold. And they weren't amused.
If you could interview Rachel Zegler, what kind of questions would you be asking her?
I'd start with a lot of softballs. I'd get her to kind of get a bond or a trust with us.
Yeah.
Always have to do that. A little bit of life, her career, the gig. And then say, when you give interviews like this, when you share those thoughts, that it's rather divisive and it seems like you're insulting the work you're trying to honor. Why do you say that? Or would you say it differently? I mean, I just go directly at that point. I mean, you have to. You're out promoting your movie. You're talking to all these people. You don't have to. It's your job. Your job is to get eyeballs to the movie. Why would you insult the source material that way? This material has been beloved for years and decades. Is that a, conflict there? I mean, what's if it ain't broke, so to speak? I think that's straight and fair.
Why would the government care? Because Evita isn't just a play. It's a high-profile, taxpayer-supported cultural event with national press coverage and international reach. And when public outrage boils over like this, optics matter. If the lead actress is seen as disrespectful, dismissive, or politically toxic, the blowback doesn't just hit her. It hits everyone backing the show, including the government itself. Sources allegedly inside the DCMS claimed internal discussions had already taken place about reassessing support for productions that generate social division rather than unity. 1. Name kept coming up, Rachel Zegler. And the longer the backlash dragged on, the more pressure mounted. Then came the bombshell. A leaked email thread, allegedly from an internal government advisor circulated on social media. It hinted that funding or logistical support for Evita could be subject to change depending on developments in public sentiment. The message didn't mention Zegler by name, but everyone knew what it meant. Now, it wasn't just about one performance. It was about whether the entire production could survive under this level of scrutiny. The government didn't want to be seen funding controversy, and that put producers in a difficult position. Because Rachel Zegler wasn't just the star, she was the controversy. And things behind the scenes were about to get even more complicated. While the media focused on her balcony moment and political fallout, something even more chaotic was reportedly happening behind closed doors. The rehearsals. According to whispers from inside the theater, the set wasn't just tense, it was volatile. Cast and crew members allegedly described the mood as uncomfortable and on edge. Some even called it toxic. Reports began surfacing that Zegler was clashing with the director over staging choices. Others claimed she frequently showed up late or demanded last-minute changes that derailed group rehearsals. One anonymous source reportedly told a gossip columnist, "It's like everyone's walking on eggshells around her. You never know if she's going to be passionate or just explode." Then came the rumors of diva behavior, private dressing room demands, refusal to take notes, and allegedly storming off set when scenes didn't go her way. While none of this has been officially confirmed, the consistency of the rumors began to paint a picture of a production spinning out of control. Morale was low, tempers were high, and worst of all, word was starting to get out. And then came the biggest red flag yet. Rumors began to spread online that replacement auditions had quietly been conducted for Evita's lead. According to an unverified Reddit post from someone claiming to work at the venue, producers were exploring contingency options in case of cast restructuring. No names were given, but the implication was clear. Rachel Zegler was no longer untouchable. Her role was at risk, and the emotional toll was just beginning to show. By the time the now infamous footage of Rachel Zegler surfaced, the public had already sensed something was wrong, but no one expected this. No statement, no Instagram story, just silence, and a visibly shaken Actress outside her temporary London residence, flanked by security, wearing oversized sunglasses and no makeup. Paparazzi asked if she was okay, if the show was still on, if the rumors were true. She said nothing, not a word. That silence spoke louder than anything she could have tweeted. Body language. Experts online quickly jumped in. Some speculated she had just come from a high-level meeting and received devastating news. Others suggested she was buckling under the weight of relentless public pressure. Regardless of the reason, one thing was clear. This wasn't a performance. This was a breaking point. And then it got worse. A blurry photo reportedly taken inside the theater lobby showed producers huddled around a table, papers in hand, faces tense. One insider claimed this was an emergency meeting to discuss potential cast restructuring. Another said Rachel had been offered a chance to step away quietly, but refused. Mans online clung to every detail, analyzing her recent social media activity. Her TikTok had gone dark. Her Instagram was scrubbed of recent posts. And as the silence grew, so did the theories. Some said she was quitting. Others feared she was fired. But the truth, it was still locked behind closed doors. And as Rachel's emotional breakdown spread across the internet, the court of public opinion had already reached a verdict. The sympathy didn't last long. What began as concern quickly morphed into condemnation. The public, already polarized, started turning against her. Some accused her of playing the victim. Others saw her silence as a manipulative PR move. Comments flooded in. "This is what happens when you disrespect a whole culture," wrote one user. "You wanted attention, now you've got it." Online petitions started circulating. One of them demanding that Rachel Zegler be replaced before Evita even premieres. Another called for the production to cast a British actress in the role, citing cultural integrity and taxpayer accountability. Within 48 hours, both petitions had thousands of signatures. The media was relentless. UK talk shows debated whether American stars should be allowed to lead British productions at all. One tabloid columnist even went as far as to say Rachel Zegler came to London to play a revolutionary and instead became the revolution. It wasn't just harsh, it was personal. And while some fans came to her defense, claiming the backlash was exaggerated and rooted in misogyny, the tide had already turned. It was no longer just a theatrical scandal. It was a cultural war. Brands distanced themselves. Allegedly, two of the production's minor sponsors had already pulled back on promotional materials. Quietly, but clearly, Rachel's team, according to a source close to her management, was scrambling behind the scenes. Meetings with lawyers, agents, and damage control specialists became daily occurrences. But no one could stop the free fall. Because every day, without a statement, without an explanation, was another day. The story grew and another inch closer to collapse. At this point, even insiders were divided. Was there a way to salvage Rachel Zegler's position in Evita? Could the narrative still be turned around, or was the damage already done? Allegedly, her team had drafted a statement, an apology of sorts meant to be paired with a heartfelt video. But Rachel, according to reports, wasn't on board. She didn't want to appear weak. She didn't want to cave to what she saw as a politically charged smear campaign. And more importantly, she didn't want to give her critics the satisfaction. But that decision may have cost her everything. Behind the scenes, producers, were reportedly furious, not just about the public backlash, but about the silence. One leaked message allegedly, from a member of the marketing team, said, "We can't sell this show if our lead is a ghost." Ticket pre-sales, which had been strong initially, began to stall. And with funding now in question, the risk of financial collapse became very real. To make things worse, a new rumor emerged. One that sent fans and critics into a frenzy. A rising West End starlet had allegedly been spotted visiting the Evita set after hours. Some claimed she was there to read for the role. Others said it was just coincidence. But in the court of internet speculation, it didn't matter. The damage had already spread like wildfire. And for achel Zegler, who once seemed poised to conquer Hollywood, and now found herself drowning in controversy on the other side of the Atlantic, the clock was ticking. Because what came next could end everything. At the center of this cultural firestorm sits a question bigger than any one actress, any one moment, or even any one show. Can Evita survive this? Or has the damage become too great? What began as a buzzworthy West End revival has morphed into a lightning rod for political outrage, national debate and global headlines, and now insiders say the production's future is hanging by a thread. Quiet meetings are reportedly being held between government officials and arts funding committees to determine whether continued support for the show is culturally responsible. Because this isn't just about achel Zegler anymore. It's about optics, public perception, and taxpayer money. If the British government is seen propping up a production whose lead actress is at the center of a full-scale scandal, the political blowback could be enormous. And that puts everyone involved in an impossible position. Producers are facing a no-win scenario. If they stick by Zegler, they risk alienating audiences and sponsors. If they replace her, they risk accusations of caving to online mobs and further damaging their brand. And with opening night looming, time is running out fast. Behind the scenes, cast members are reportedly being told to stay flexible. Choreographers are revising routines. Stage hands are being briefed on alternate cues. And according to one unverified but persistent rumor, an entirely different version of the show with a backup lead is being quietly rehearsed after hours just in case. As for Rachel, her silence continues. No tweets, no statements, no red carpets. Some say she's staying strong, others say she's in hiding. But everyone agrees on one thing. This isn't just the story of a musical anymore. It's the story of an empire on the verge of collapse. And it's not over yet. Achel Zegler came to London to make history, but instead, she may have walked straight into a storm she never saw coming. From a viral balcony moment to political backlash, leaked government memos, and rumors of cancellation, this is no longer just about acting. It's about identity, reputation, and the brutal cost of fame. In the age of instant outrage, whether Evita makes it to opening night, whether Rachel keeps her role, or whether this marks the start of a dramatic fall from grace, only time will tell. But one thing is certain, this scandal has already rewritten the narrative of achel Zegler's career, and the final act hasn't even started yet. If you want to stay updated as this story unfolds, and believe me, it's far from over, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications because the next chapter might just be the most shocking one yet.